So just 20 months ago, Erik ten Hag was on top of the world, winning the league with Ajax in scintillating fashion, playing some of the most beautiful football anywhere in Europe. And it all came because he had an incredible tactical setup with this Ajax side, and they played some truly beautiful football. It all started at the back, where they would draw the opposition in, be patient and play the ball deep in these areas, quick short passing to try and move the ball from the back. One of the reasons that this worked so well was because they had two of the best first line receivers in world football, in Lisandro Martinez, a familiar face, and Jurrien Timber, now of Arsenal. Now these two may not be the typical modern day centre back, they're not that big, they're not that physical, but they are both incredibly technical, and I would argue that either of them could play midfield if they really wanted to, because they are brilliant at receiving with their back to goal, and this gave Ajax a real base to play the ball out from. Having played the ball out from the back, what we would then see from this Ajax side is lots of rotations in the middle third. They would often shift to a sort of 3-2-2-3 shape like this, with Lisandro Martinez, Blind and Timber forming a back three, and then Alvarez and Mazraoui being a 2 like this, but as we can see, it's a little bit off balance in the way that they would do it. From here, like I've said already, we would see a lot of rotations. At times, Alvarez would drop deep, Timber would push forward, at times Timber would be wider, Mazraoui would come inside, we could see Alvarez dropping between two centre-backs, Daley Blind and Mazraoui, the two full-backs, forming a double pivot. There was a lot of rotations in this area. And the reason for that is because every single one of these guys, these two and also these two, could drop into so many different positions. They were incredibly technically gifted. They could receive with their back to play, with the play in front of them. They could do pretty much everything from a technical point of view. In the middle of all of that, we had Edson Alvarez, who again is a very decent technical footballer, but his ceiling was nowhere near as high as the rest of the players. However, he was still one of the most important, and that was because of his willingness to move into different areas. Again, we can see him here at centre-back, but in terms of actually on the ball, what he would do is keep the play incredibly simple. He would often be used as a sort of a bounce pass, is how I like to describe it. So let's say the situation could be looking like this. They would go into Alvarez and his role basically was to bounce the ball off to someone else. That could happen forward as well. You know, he could receive the ball here and he could bounce it off to Gravenberch, but that was how he played. Two-touch football, keeping it nice and simple, keeping the team ticking over. What we can see from here is that they then generated this box in midfield. Now again, the base of the double pivot would vary, but we then had Ryan Gravenberch and Bergwijn in front of them. Again, two very technical footballers. But in Gravenberch in particular, we've got a real ball carrier. Someone who could break an opposition structure by picking the ball up in a deeper position before driving forward through the pitch with a combination of physical prowess and also skill, allowing him to take on the opposition midfield with relative ease at times. From here, if I can find a tackle board, here we go. From here, as Ajax would move the ball forward, they would then generate a front five where we would see plenty of width provided by the two wingers, but also plenty of wide combinations. Gravenberch would often move out wide to support Tadic, and Bergwijn would do the same on the other side, all whilst also maintaining dominance in the midfield with Alvarez, Blind, Gravenberch and Bergwijn, although again the personnel in these areas could change due to the massive rotations. But again, the important thing was that they were dominating the middle of pitch with these four players, but also providing options out wide. And then in the final third, they had a brilliant creative spark to the way that they played. This was real vertical tick-attack of football. It wasn't possession for the sake of it. They moved the ball forward through the lines into the final third, where they could then knit something together with this front five, or swing crosses into the box for the big Haller up top. It really was great football from Erik ten Hag and Ajax, and it's exactly what we were expecting at Manchester United. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order. If we, however, fast forward to the modern day, Erik ten Hag looks less like he's on top of the world and more like a guy about to become a supervillain. And also, we've got rid of the Ajax shirt because I remembered they charged us about 100 million for Anthony, which is a true crime, so we binned that shirt off. But basically, since moving to Manchester United, we haven't seen Erik ten Hag doing that same football. And the question is, why? Well, just the other day, he said this team physically cannot play the football which Ajax played, and that's got a lot of people really concerned, because the idea was, when we got Ten Hag, we were getting this Ten Hag. This is the brand of football that we were all expecting to come to the club, but we just haven't seen it. The question is, why aren't we seeing it, and is Erik ten Hag right about his statement that this team cannot play the Ajax style? Let's take a look. Now, when we talk about this United side, I want to talk about the side literally available to Ten Hag so far this season. So some of the most used players, and we'll start off with the back four, where so far in 15 games this season, Manchester United have used 10 different combinations in the back four, with this four being the most common back four. That's concerning. These guys have played 3 games together as the back four. Victor Lindelof over there at left back, Johnny Evans left centre back, Harry Maguire right centre back, Dalot at right back. This is the most common United backline so far this season, starting 3 games together, which in itself is a massive problem. However, what we can see with these guys, if we go back and compare them to these two, and even these two, oh boy, we've got some different profiles here. Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans, would I describe those two as technical players which can move into midfield potentially and receive the ball with their back to play? No. Is Lindelof versatile and can play loads of different positions to a high standard in possession? No. Dalot's the closest thing to resembling an Ajax player here, and even he, in terms of the actual ceiling of him as a player, is questionable. So that is the initial problem for Manchester United. If we then kind of look at the knock-on effect, it means that Onana doesn't have the passing options which Pasveer did for Ajax, which means as a result United are often forced to send the ball long. That's one of the main reasons we aren't seeing the same possession football for United as what we were with Ajax. It's because this back four cannot offer what the Ajax back four offered. Maguire can't receive the ball with his back to play on a regular basis, neither can Johnny Evans, neither can Lindelof, neither can Dalot. The other problem though is that these players do not suit the current they don't suit the rotations which Ten Hag was asking for at Ajax. So let's imagine again, this was Daley Blind moving to left centre back, this was Lisandro Martinez, this was Yuri Timber, Edson Alvarez and Mazraoui. So let's picture United in a similar sort of shape like this. Now, the big problem we've got here is that these players just cannot rotate in the way that Ajax did, but in a sense Ten Hag is still asking them to. We've seen games recently where Johnny Evans receives the ball much higher up the pitch, we've seen Lindelof moving into some really weird positions, we've seen Maguire moving forward at times, Casemiro's popping up all over the pitch, and this is leading to a real problem. One of the problems with this structure and this idea of playing is that the Premier League is very, very different to the Eredivisie. At Ajax, Erik ten Hag had the best squad in the league. His side were on top, and their quality outshone most sides. United don't have the same luxury, and as a result, this fluid build-up structure is really hurting United. One, because in possession, they can't do it. The players aren't good enough to do it. But two, because it leaves you with a really questionable rest defence. So when United do lose possession, we're often seeing situations where Eriksen might be the deepest man because Casemiro's pushed high, Dalot will be higher like this. United find themselves all jumbled up because they're so fluid in the way that they're moving in deeper areas. It means that when you lose the ball, you've got the wrong profiles trying to defend. Again, Casemiro caught high up the pitch whilst Eriksen's defending deep. Or the other day it was Hannibal and Mason Mount who couldn't tackle Livramento. So again, that's another issue with these United players. Firstly, not being good enough to rotate, not as good as the Ajax players to rotate, but also because it's a much more intense league, it's much more intense football, and United don't have that superior quality to all the opposition that they face, leading to a poor rest defence. We've also got the issue of the fact that once again, this box midfield just doesn't represent what the box midfield did with Ajax. Edson Alvarez compared to Casemiro. We were talking about Edson Alvarez being this kind of a wall pass. You bounce it off him to play two-touch football and keep it simple. Casemiro, on the other hand, gets the ball and wallops it forward 9 times out of 10, which again is a clear difference in the way that the two sides are trying to play. We were talking about Ryan Gravenberch earlier, being a really good physical presence, someone who can at times drop deep, pick the ball up, show skill to carry the ball forward. Christian Eriksen, Ryan Gravenberch, they're not quite the same player, let's be honest. And then we've got the wide positions. Recently, Antony hasn't been in the side. Is Bruno Fernandes a player which wants to hold the width and swing crosses into the box? He's not. Is Marcus Rashford? No, not really. And also, these two midfielders, Eriksen is in a sense, but they aren't the sort of players to get forward and provide these combinations in the same way that Ajax were. And then when all of these crosses are coming into the box, like we saw with Ajax, the quality is just pretty terrible. There's a terrible quality of delivery into the box from Manchester United, who have produced the 3rd most crosses of any team in the Premier League this season. But the fact that United aren't scoring from them suggests they're not great delivery. So this is why I actually think Erik ten Hag is right. I think he's exactly right with his statement. I think he is correct that, if we go back to it, this Manchester United side cannot play the Ajax football, which we all hoped that it would. And that's quite sad. Now, of course, there are potential solutions to come back. Anthony into the side is literally a player which played the Ajax system, the same for Lisandro Martinez. Luke Shaw is quite a technical player and is certainly more suited to a left-hand side than what Victor Lindelof is. Mason Mount in for Christian Eriksen gives you a ball carrier, someone with a bit of energy. So there are ways in which United can move closer to that Ajax brand of football. But again, to go back to it, if I can find my picture of Ten Hag, 1 second, I think he's right. I don't think this Manchester United side can play that Erik Ten Hag Ajax football which we saw, which we all hoped for. So, in terms of answering the title of the video, is Erik Ten Hag right that United can't play the Ajax way? He is spot on. He is spot on. But that doesn't mean it's a completely lost cause. It just means that Erik Ten Hag has to change his structure. Realistically, the fluidity of the deep areas needs to change. Having Mason Mount and Hannibal defending a counter-attack whilst Casemiro is caught high up the pitch is not an optimal solution. It really doesn't work for a football team. But also having players like Harry Maguire stepping forward into midfield, Johnny Evans stepping forward, Lindelof inverting into central areas, again, it's not right. Ten Hag does need to change his style. And ultimately, it is now over to you, Erik Ten Hag. You can't play the Ajax way. I'll give you that. You are spot on. You are correct. You have been hampered by injuries. I'll give you that as well. But regardless of that, you are the manager of Manchester United. And you've still got a pretty talented squad at your hands. So now, Erik Ten Hag, it's over to you to find the solutions. As for you guys in the comments, let me know what you think. What is the biggest difference between that Ajax side and this United side? Let me know what you think. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.